A lot of times we pride ourselves in how much we've left behind, how much we've sacrificed for the gospel or for the ministry, for what God has called us to do. And we begin to, at times it sounds like competition, whereby, we're thinking, we say, oh, I've sacrificed so much, I've left a lot behind. I know what I could have done now, if not for, because I've started following Jesus, because I've started doing maybe ministry, the things that God has asked me to do, I've left a lot of things behind. And we'll see this example. That was what Peter said in the book of Matthew, chapter 17. He began to tell Jesus, he says, see, what will be our reward, seeing that we've left everything behind? Because Jesus told him, he said, follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. And one important thing to note is that Jesus did not refute Peter's claim at this particular point. Basically, Jesus didn't say, oh no, you didn't leave everything behind. So Jesus acknowledged it, and he says, eventually the 12 of you will actually be seated so that you will judge the 12 tribes of Israel. And Jesus didn't refute what Peter said. One thing I love about Jesus is, and about God is, a lot of times God doesn't like to argue. God does not argue, because Peter, as we see, is someone that is keen on arguing. And what God does at times is to allow situations or circumstances to actually speak and reveal certain things that, if God had communicated through words, and there are times God speaks to yourself or myself, and we refute the things that God is asking, God is telling us. We tell God, no, what you just said is not true, is not accurate. No, that's not me. You probably don't know what is going on. I know myself more than you know me. But what God does sometimes is allow situations and circumstances to take place to reveal the deepest things in our hearts that even we are unable to know, because God is a spirit, and only the spirit within a man really knows what is going on within that particular man. Because at times we have these things in our subconscious mind, the thought and ambitions that we are not aware of. And so, take for instance the instance of Peter in scriptures. Even when Jesus told him, he said, see, you will deny me 3 times. Peter said, no, far be it. Everyone else can deny you, but me, I will never do it. Jesus, whatever message, whatever prophecies you just gave me, whatever word of knowledge or wisdom, whatever category that is in, it is not accurate. And eventually it did happen, and Peter's eyes became open. See, a lot of times we leave a lot of things behind, but not everything leaves us. There's difference when you leave everything behind, but the question is, did everything leave you? Because for the disciples, they left their families, they left their businesses, their lucrative careers, but their ambitions did not leave them. So at times we say we leave everything, but everything doesn't leave us. If the ambitions don't leave you, then you've not left everything at the end of the day. Because we eventually saw that when Jesus died, guess what happened? Peter told the disciples, says, I'm going back to fishing. And they all replied, yes, we'll come along. And then they prove that you've left everything behind is when you don't see the result, when you've not become the star that that your personal ambition, what you wanted for yourself. Do you go back to the things you said you left behind? Because for Peter, he said, yes, we've left everything behind, but they didn't leave everything behind. It seemed like they just packed everything as plan B and say, see, in case this following Jesus does not work out, we eventually come back to fishing. We eventually go back to our old life. So let's put our old life in one place. Let's secure it in a store. Put everything in the archive. And in case things don't pan out with this Jesus, then we can go back to living that old life. And that was what happened to the disciples. And a lot of times, one thing to notice, at times the ambitions we have before encountering Jesus, they are small because we don't see possibilities. But when we see him, and then we begin to see the resources that heaven has made available, if we're not careful, those things can make our personal ambitions grow. Personal ambitions, they are dangerous. We have to live according to the plan and the purpose of God for our lives, the vision of God. That is what we're meant to live by. Man shall not live by bread alone, but by every word that proceeds from the mouth of God. And so a person can go into ministry for the wrong reason. Yes, they've truly been called, but they have personal ambitions. For Judas Iscariot, it was finance. Due to his association with Jesus, he wanted to make a lot of money. James and John, the sons of thunder, theirs is to be in that elevated position when the kingdom comes. And eventually they wanted to call down fire upon a particular village, and Jesus had to rebuke them. Then in Matthew 20:20, their mother came, the sons of David, their mother came and told Jesus, say, let my two sons, let one sit on your left, the other one on your right in your kingdom. I don't care who sits on left or right, but this is my heart desire. This is what they wanted, because these were a nobody. When they saw Jesus, they saw the possibility of becoming stars. It is important, it's paramount for yourself and myself to know that when we come to God, it is to serve our lives. Leadership is service. It's not about lording things over other people. It's not about coming to a place where all our personal ambitions and the things, the tools, the resources we didn't have before, whereby we can have access to them and then live lavishly. We must come, and when we truly say that we've left all, we should have indeed left all. And we can, at times, we leave things, we leave material things, but the ambitions have not really left us. We still have those ambitions and the things we want to achieve. And so we begin to use ministry, we begin to use Christianity, we begin to use the things of God to fund and to achieve all these things in our lives, and they are not right. And so for the disciples, we could see that yes, they said, we have truly left all. But then after Jesus died, and then they went back to that old life. And so that means they didn't really live all. Physically, they were separated, but their hearts, their minds, those things were still there as backup plan. That if this Jesus does not pan out, we will eventually go back. And at times when people come to know God, give their lives to Christ, they have this list and expectations of things, personal agendas that they want to accomplish, personal ambitions. And if those things are not met, a lot of times that is why a lot of people begin to backslide and go back into their old lifestyles and compromise, because truly and indeed we've not really left all. And so when we say we've left all so that we can be with Jesus, does that mean we've gotten rid of everything? Or have we just put them in our garage and said, we'll go back to this? And so the typical example is Elisha. When Elijah placed his mantle upon Elisha actually left all. What he did, the oxen that he was using, his farming tool, he got rid of everything because he knew he wasn't going back to this. And so for yourself and myself, those personal ambitions, those things, I'm not against vision. When God gives you a vision, God wants to make you great. He wants to bless you. He wants to do a lot of amazing things in your life. But those must be, that's the difference between vision and ambition. Is just personal, something you want for yourself, not really because it will bless others, but it's solely focused on yourself. Maybe you want to increase your self-worth, you want to feel good about yourself, but we must leave everything behind. Have you left everything behind? And when it seems as if God is not doing anything or God is slow, are you going back to your old self? Those things that you said you've left behind, are you going back to them? Because the proof will always be when your personal ambitions, they are not being answered by God. A lot of times people run back to that which they said they've left behind.